Hey everyone, and welcome to the course of world history. I am your host, Mr. Samuelson, and today we are looking at the unification of Germany and Italy. Last time we looked at nationalism as a whole. Now we're going to look at the effects of nationalism in these two very disunited countries. So, our essential questions for today, two of them: how was the nation of Italy unified? And then how was the nation of Germany unified? Looking at both. So, starting with Italy. Italy in the 1850s, early 1850s, was really dominated by the Austrians in particular, and a lot of French influence as well. Austria actually had direct control over two territories of northern Italy, being directly ruled by the Austrians. It was part of the Austrian Empire. Um, and France had some indirect influence over other areas. There was a branch of the French monarchy, Bourbons, were the kings of the Kingdom of Two Sicilies, with a lot of French culture, French history, French influence in their court, as well as the Papal States being kind of a client state of the French, really backed by the French military. So the French are very involved in Italy. Austria is actually in control of a part of Italy. So that leaves an area that is relatively free of influence, although there's definitely some French pushings in this area. And that is the Kingdom of Piedmont, or the Kingdom of Piedmont Sardinia, combining these two territories of Italy. This becomes a rallying point for nationalists who are really seeking Italian unity and to create one Italian state for Italians. And it was led by a highly capable individual who also brought together smart people to help him achieve his goals. And that was this fellow right here with the outstanding mustache. That is King Victor Emmanuel II. And he is going to really try to unify this kingdom. And he does so by provoking a war with Austria and using that war with Austria to secure French alliance. And together, they are going to be able to take control of this territory right here, Lombardy. They'll take that away from the Austrians. Once he has this success, and Italy is starting to unite a little bit more under Victor Emmanuel II, other Italian states start to say, okay, maybe this is the guy. Maybe we can have a united nation. And there are three other Italian states who are going to overthrow their governments and join in with Piedmont. So, Southern Italy. To understand Southern Italy and how they come into this mix, we have to understand Giuseppe Garibaldi. Giuseppe Garibaldi is kind of he's a man who was all about freedom fighting and all about nationalism, and kind of cut his teeth on nationalist fights in the South American revolutions, fighting there. And when he comes home, he wants to bring about this idea of nationalism to Italy as well. And he's able to raise an army of 1,000 volunteers. This is Garibaldi and his 1,000. And together, they kind of land on Sicily, foment a revolt there, and turn the island of Sicily against the Bourbon rulers who led the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies from the mainland in Naples. Once they had captured the island of Sicily, he soon begins to turn that momentum into controlling southern Italy as well, Naples, and is now in control of the Kingdom of Two Sicilies. But Garibaldi is not a king. He's not interested in being a king. He is a nationalist and is not interested in creating an Italian civil war between the South and the North. Instead, he hands over control of the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies, all of southern Italy, to Victor Emmanuel II. Now, Victor Emmanuel II is in control of most of Italy. So, 1861, Victor Emmanuel II is in control of all of this in orange. He's master of most of Italy at this point. And so, on March 17th, 1861, he goes ahead and declares the unification of all of these territories into the Kingdom of Italy. It's no longer Piedmont and Sardinia and Lombardy, Parma, Modena. It's not all of these different sections. It is now one kingdom of Italy with these two parts. The Austrians still controlling Venetia, and the Papal States still in control of Rome. So it's not going to be complete until those territories are taken. And that will happen in 1870. This is because the Italians are very smart in backing a rising power in northern Europe, that is the Prussian Empire. Italy backs the Prussians in the Austro-Prussian War of 1866. And as a reward for winning this, when the peace treaty is settled, Venetia winds up going to Italy. And then in 1870, Italy again backs the Prussians, and together they win the Franco-Prussian War. And in this, remember, the French had really been the military defending the Papal States. The military has to be removed, and Italy is then able to move in because Papal States do not have a military sufficient on their own, and they take over this territory, and the Papal States fall under the control of the Italian government. Once this happens, the capital city itself is moved to Rome, and we have a unified Italy. Let's look at Germany. Germany was a mess. Historically, it had always been kind of a mess, and it had been lumped together under this Holy Roman Empire for a long time, but it was always this disunited jumble of people. Prior to the Napoleonic Wars, Germany was divided into about 300 separate states with their own government, with pseudo-sovereignty within those. Now, Germany, after Napoleonic Wars, gets reorganized a little bit, and it's down to only 39 states or independent cities, but still very disunited. But among these are a few powerful ones. We have Bavaria, Prussia, Saxony, Hanover, and Austria as the most powerful ones. Now, Austria is going to always kind of be its own story, Germanic in nationality, but they'll wind up not being a part of a united Germany. The united Germany instead is going to come from Prussia, one of those northern powers. Prussia rises to prominence due to the authoritarian centralization of power under King Wilhelm I. He was an admirer of what Louis XIV had done in France and really took power into his own hands and was a very capable leader and had one of the most capable lieutenants, I guess I will call him, in world history in his prime minister, Otto von Bismarck. Really, it becomes more, in some ways, Bismarck's empire in a way. Now, William also reorganizes and expands the military under Bismarck's leadership and turns it into the most effective fighting force in Europe. Not the largest, but very efficient, very effective, very well trained. So Otto von Bismarck, his goal is to use this really refined military to expand Prussia. And he does this in combination with expertise in building alliances and provoking warfare from others. So, for an example, he allies with Austria, who will one day be a rival pretty soon, to win a war against Denmark, and brings these German-speaking folks into the Prussian Empire. But during this war, Austria is a bit stretched. It's got other things going on. And Prussia picks up on his weakness. So the friend in one war becomes the enemy almost immediately afterward. And he declares war on Austria. And Austria is then forced to give up some control of some territory along their borders. And as discussed earlier, they give up a chunk of their empire to the Italians, who had allied with Prussia in this. Now, coming out of this, Prussia now builds a Northern German Confederation. Bismarck organized all the German states north of this river into one greater confederation. By this time, Prussia does control most of it directly, but there is still Saxony, Mecklenburg, Hanover, a couple of other territories that are still independent, but recognizing the importance of Prussian military rule and Prussian military dominance. Now, the southern German states fear Prussia. They don't like this growing power, but they're also at this time really concerned with France. So they decide to enter into a military alliance with the Northern Germans that stated that if France declared war, they would defend each other and all Germans would come together. This alliance becomes accepted by the South. We will help you fight in the event that France declares war on either of us. So in 1870, Bismarck is all about trying to provoke France into declaring war on him. And he sees an opportunity. This opportunity is linked to a dispute over the who gets to be the king in Spain. France really didn't want a relative of the Prussian monarchy to become king of Spain. They felt they'd be surrounded. And Bismarck is able to kind of leverage this conflict into goading France into declaring war on Prussia. Just what he wanted to have happen. Because as soon as France declares that war, the Southern Confederation comes into the war on Bismarck's side. The two German states really together combine to just absolutely crush France. They use very modern military tactics. We're now into like American Civil War style weaponry. 1870 makes sense. Now, Prussia captures Emperor Louis Napoleon of France, then steamrolls right into Paris, captures Paris, and in Versailles, this symbol of absolute power in Europe, Prussia celebrates their victory by formally uniting all of the German states, except Austria, under a single monarch. So now we would have those kind of two German states, the German Empire and the Austrian Empire. William I of Prussia is then proclaimed Kaiser Wilhelm I, Kaiser being that Roman-ish title coming from Caesar. It's an imperial title saying that Germany is now an empire. And this brings in the period of the Second German Empire, the first being the Holy Roman Empire. We will talk about the Third German Empire when we get to World War II, but this is the now Second German Empire. All right, I hope that you enjoyed this lesson. I hope you learned something. I will see you next time, and farewell.